idea to progress with the dam was scrapped at this point in time. So there were a lot of meetings that were done in the early 2000s, and from that DCNR worked with the general public with the idea of creating a day-use creekside park. And that's where we are at this point in time. Well, there was a bigger goal to have more in there, but that's kind of what it's evolved or devolved into. The amount of money that was allocated for the dam was returned to the Commonwealth. When money for a project isn't used for what it's specifically designated for, you have to give it back.
Really?
So whatever monies that weren't used during the process for planning and doing your studies and your samples and all that other kind of stuff, before we could have the money released for the current project, we had to give that back. So, however, contrary to popular thought, the project is not supported, or monies did not come from Project 70. It came from other types of funding. So it puts it kind of in a special category all into itself. Initially, the idea was to rebuild the dam that was there and was destroyed during a flood in 1862, and there were obviously obstacles along the way. So first obstacle, I believe, was acid mine drainage, and DCNR, of course, at that time was DCNR and DEP were part of one group called DER, Department of Environmental Resources. And they worked to clean up the acid mine drainage that was coming out of the headwaters through the Swatara Creek. For projects and studies and all that other stuff, and purchasing of the land, the initial purchasing of the lands, the Commonwealth has used over $17 million to get to this point. The money that's been allocated for the project that's going on right now is $4.1 million from the general fund, and then DCNR had to pony up an additional $500,000 because the dollars that were allocated in 1980 for this project doesn't buy a whole lot in 2011. So unfortunately, this project has really been scaled back. As a manager, though, I feel that it keeps the integrity of what's currently there and will make it nicer for the users to be able to use. And I've already had discussions with the director about additional monies coming to hopefully bring in some of the other projects that we had to eliminate. It's on a diagonal, which confuses me because there's no true north, south, or east or west. Thank you. Down here is Lickdale, and this is Route 72 and 443 going around up to where exit 100 is off of 81. We own a little patch of property down by Lickdale Campground. We are currently in the midst of a land exchange, and in that particular case we are exchanging 4 acres to the Boltzes, who own Lickdale Campground, and the Commonwealth in exchange is receiving over 11 acres of property. It will give DCNR more access to the creek, and therefore we're going to be able to put in a brand new boat launch for those who are utilizing the Swatara Creek water trail. There will be a parking lot located down here as well, and a new parallel trail to connect you to the rail trail, which we currently have the right-of-way for. So the rail trail will then connect into what I consider the main body of the park. Off of Route 72, before you get to 443, I don't know if any of you have noticed the cement spur that kind of goes off on the creek side. There will be a new parking lot going in there. It will hold approximately 50 vehicles, including some longer spaces for RVs or trailers or items like that. And there will be 2 trails that will go down from there onto what I call Old Moonshine Road. Depending upon what area you come from, I've learned that there's all kinds of different names for things. We will be renaming that old abandoned road into Trout Run, because the trailhead's going to be named Trout Run Trailhead. So that way it'll kind of connect that idea of the parking lot for those who will be new to the project. The folks who are used to what's there will have to learn new names. That'll connect you down to the old abandoned roads. The abandoned road will not be touched. We're leaving that in place. The rail trail, where it comes down, where Gold Mine used to go up and it drops back down to the railroad bed, we will be doing what's called retreading. So the surface on that is going to be, it's still going to be aggregate, or the stone, but it'll be smooth enough that the bicyclist and people pushing strollers or whatever or those who have ambulatory issues will have a much easier time being able to walk along that. From there, if you continue out the railroad bed all the way out to Swopes Valley Road, there is going to be where there was a bridge over Mill Creek that was blown up years ago. Don't ask me why on that.
Pony Trust.
It's going to be rebuilt again, and that'll connect so that people don't have to go out on 443 to be able to use the railroad bed. There was supposed to be a parallel trail to Swopes Valley Road, but we had to eliminate that. This project went out for bid over a year ago, and all the bids came in a couple $1 million over what we had allocated. So we had to make some choices to have some things eliminated. So people unfortunately will have to go out onto Swopes Valley Road to come back over to another parking lot which is being built at Swopes Valley Road and Old State Road. There'll be a parking lot there, and there will be a connection down to where the current boat launch is. However, there are no plans to improve that boat launch at this point in time with this particular project. The Old State Road will be reclaimed and milled up and turned into a multi-use trail. And it will go, and it's going to be redone all the way from Swopes Valley Road up to Waterville Bridge, or down, however you'd like to look at it. And in the middle, where we had one of the old logging gates, I guess it went back to some properties that were in there, we're building a bridge, and this is the most expensive part of the project. There's going to be a new trail and then a 4-span bridge going across the Swatara Creek. And the purpose for this was to be able to create 2 separate loops, which I think will make the park much more user-friendly. Because right now, to do the full loop from Waterville Bridge all the way up to Swopes Valley Road is about 12 miles. And so the big bridge in the middle, which will be called Sand Siding Pedestrian Bridge, will make one loop just under 5 miles and the other one just over 7. So like I said, I think it'll make it a much more family-friendly and foot-friendly for folks to be able to use.
Where is Waterville?
Waterville Bridge is also known as the Appalachian Trail Bridge. It's just upstream from Inwood Bridge.
Where will the bridge be located, the new one?
The new bridge is kind of in the middle.
Very near.
Do you know where
the Bordner
Sand
Cabin.
Siding parking lot is down from Twin Grove Campground? There's a dirt road that drops down into the park. That's actually still township road, believe it or not. From that parking lot, if you go down toward Lickdale, about 1/10 of a mile. Actually, do you know where the water line crosses the rail trail through that section? Some of you may or may not know that if you're familiar with it. It's actually just a little bit further downstream from there. There's a couple of islands there, and the islands is what DCNR, since this is a DGS project, that's where they're placing their piers for the 4-span bridge. And then we'll do a slight improvement for a parking area at Waterville Bridge. That only have about 8 car parking space there. You have a question, Joanna?
I do. The height of this bridge.
Yes.
We have had most of our bridges under the water in Tropical Storm Lee. The only one that was not is the one that we couldn't cross, the Iron Bridge, just south of the Appalachian Trail Bridge. Are they accounting for flooding? How high is the bridge going to be?
Well, in this particular case, this project has been developed for several years, and so notice modifications were made based on Tropical Storm Lee floods. What I can tell you, it was calculated based on a 100-year floodplain, and from what I can see, this bridge would probably, as it's being built today, is probably equivalent to what the height of the water was based on the damage I observed in the park. That is nothing that's been calculated or corroborated by engineers or anything else. So, you know, I kind of said the other day, I'm glad we waited. The project got delayed by a year because I'm not sure what impact this past flood would have had on it. So
they are considering those calculations as they're going ahead? Is that what you said?
Well, they calculated based on a 100-year flood, which was the information we had. But this project has been drawn up the way that it is since at least 2008, and they did not modify this project at all based on. As a matter of fact, this project was out for bid, and bids were due back in before Tropical Storm Lee happened, because the contractor has actually had to go back and ask for additional monies based on the damages that occurred out there.
this will be strictly a pedestrian bridge?
Yes. It can accommodate emergency vehicles, like for my maintenance vehicles or my ranger vehicle. However, it's not designed for regular vehicular traffic. As a matter of fact, I had, based on the cost of the bridge, I even had to scale back the tonnage that this bridge is able to accommodate. And then the bathrooms were also eliminated. There were supposed to be 3 bathrooms in this project, and an additional improvement to the Appalachian Trail parking lot near 443 and 72, and that was also eliminated. We also had a parallel trail on the eastern loop for equestrians. That was also eliminated. We had to cut over $2 million worth of improvements just to get what we're getting right now.
You put trash receptacles out there, you take care of them.
The problem with doing trash receptacles at this point in time for me is, well, I mean, number one, I know one spot we had a bear who was moving through a couple years ago, and part of it they were attracted to the beer cans being left behind by the kids. But the other part, or people who were down by the Waterville Bridge and didn't clean everything up when they left. But the bears, it draws in the bears. But the other thing,
Right? What would it take for lobby to get an eco bathroom system there? I mean, I think that's critical as well.
the bathroom was one of the things I actually talked with the director when we knew we had to cut money from this project. We went through and I really fought hard to keep the big bridge in the middle because it was one project that I knew DCNR could not afford to at a later time go back and pay for. So when I looked at this project, I said, what must we have this project with Department of General Services funding it pay for? And then what do I believe and can I get support through DCNR to build at a later date? And one of those things the director told me specifically was, we will find money, allocate money as project money is available. Right now that's a struggle because of all the budget stuff, but as money becomes available to put in the bathrooms. The bathrooms are in the design. We have a design for it. At this point in time, we still even have the permits that we need for it. So there are bathrooms planned in each of these parking areas. They are designed where when you go into the parking lot, you're going to be able to look and you're going to see where the bathroom logically is going to go at some point in time. As a matter of fact, I had my mid-year budget review back in December, and we tell them what projects we would like to have funded, and that as as a priority as an overall, and already have money on that list for at least one bathroom at a time. That's what we have to do. So I don't know what the future holds with the budget, but I do know that it's on the list, and I'm hopeful that within the next 3 to 5 years, that at least a bathroom will be going in. In the meantime, it may end up being porta potties, which isn't my first pick as a female to use, but it may be that if that's the only thing that's available, that may be what you choose. Trees, yeah.
How much does the bathroom cost?
It depends upon the location. I have prices that came through the bids. The cheapest one was $60,000, and the most expensive one, because we had to hook into public water and sewer, was almost $100,000.
Looking at the budget, I don't see the Keystone Fund there, and I know Memorial Lake State Park has not gotten anything for the Keystone Fund. Swatara did get one small amount, but that would be a source of revenue to do what you're saying with the bathrooms. How do we get the Keystone Fund re-entered into the budget?
I would say that the budget is decided much higher than my level, obviously. Funding is decided by, number one, through legislation and through the budget, and then from
Time for rebuilding
this project, assuming that we don't have anything bad and ugly happen, is supposed to be mid-July of this next year. This year. It's a very quick project. Very quick project. So I'm hoping by Labor Day we'll have a ribbon cutting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you guys have more questions, I'll stay around and you can go ahead and ask me other questions.